Hi, welcome to Northwest Airguns. We're going to do something just a little bit different today. We have a product review, and this is our first real product review, and so I thought we'd kick it off with something a little bit different and out of the ordinary. And so I dug back into the vault and I pulled out a Sheridan Model A Supergrade 20 caliber air rifle. And people say, well, why would you do the Model A? Well, a little bit of this is just showing off because I have one and most of you don't. And this particular one I got at a gun show, and I just happened to come across it, and we made a deal. I think I got it for a good price. It was a little bit uncertain because the pump didn't work. You couldn't pump air into it, and one of the safety parts was missing. But otherwise, it looked like it was intact and in good shape. So I went ahead and bought it, and I was very happy to get it. I got home, and my wife said, "I don't know why you're so happy, because it doesn't even work." But I was happy, and I sent it off to a guy in Southern California who rebuilt the pumping mechanism there, the pump cup, and had a part for the safety that I needed, and put that in, and now it operates just fine. On this comes from a couple of books. The first one is called Know Your Sheridan, and this is by Ron Elbe, or Elbe, I'm not sure which, but he goes through the Model A, not in a lot of detail, but in a little bit. So some of the information I got comes out of this, and this is a good book if you're a fan of the Sheridan line. This has a lot of background and history about the Sheridans. The other source is one that was a fairly recent book that was written by UJ Backus, Sheridan, Classic American Air Rifle. And this one catalogs the differences in the production models as they occurred, but it also has an awful lot of nice pictures in the back, and these are just beautiful photos of the different models, and so it's really this is a great resource as well. UJ Backus operates a registry of Sheridans, the Model A and Model B. So if you do happen to have one of these, I'll put up a link on the website, and that way you can register it there and see all the changes that have occurred over time. Now, this particular gun is an early model. These were originally started production in 1947. And they stopped in 1953 because they were losing money with them. They were priced at $56.50, according to the advertisements that I've seen. And that was just too much for an air rifle at the time. Now, in today's dollars, if you bring it forward with the consumer price index, that would be something a little over $500. And that's a lot to ask of an air gunner today to pay that much. Okay, well, we're going to take a look at some of the features on this gun. And one of the things that this particular gun has kind of an odd surface here to the finish. I don't know if that's the original finish. I expect it is, but it looks like it's been near a heater or something, and the finish kind of bubbled up a little bit. So, I thought about refinishing it, but I think I'm just going to leave it the way it is in the original state. You can see it has a butt pad here, and of course it says Sheridan on it. It has a spacer between the barrel and the tube. It's kind of light colored. And I think some of these are aluminum and some later ones are synthetic, but I'm not certain about that. One thing about the stock, going back to the stock, is that this is all one piece of wood. You can kind of see the grain here. And so they made the stock out of one piece of wood and then sawed it here. So it runs together really nicely. And these are fairly nice pieces of wood too. This one is. Nice grain to it, and when they match the stock, they actually put a number on it, and this is number 19. Let's see if we can see that here with the camera. You see that 19 And somewhere on the forearm piece, it's also marked 19. So these two were matched together and at some point put into this rifle. End cap here also quite robust. The main part of the main body here is a cast aluminum. So it was one solid piece. It was made from here to here, and then the other parts inserted in there. Trigger, this particular trigger has grooves in it, and you can see the bolt here has a particular style to it, which did change over time. The safety's here, right behind the trigger, and forward is red, means fire, of course, and then back would be safe. And they came with an peep sight or aperture sight here in the rear, which, you know, this is the location of it. It is adjustable for elevation and windage. The front sights were, well, they had different ones, but they're different thicknesses and different styles. The only marking on this one is Sheridan on this side, and then on the other side it just has patent pending. And this particular one is number 204, and they stamped the number here underneath, you know, in the front of this aluminum casting, and then they stamped it again. We'll take a look at it in just a minute. They stamped it again in another location on the aluminum casting. I wanted to mention too that this something about the valving in here, and you can see it's a pretty elaborate affair with ball bearings and synthetic seats here. My understanding was that it took a special tool to get the valve out of this gun, and then it took other special tools to get it apart and rebuild it. And the idea was that you would just send it in to Sheridan and they would send you a new one, I mean, if it ever did fail. But this is kind of the valving on this as opposed to the valving on the soldered guns like the Benjamins or the Streaks or the later cartridge guns. Well, for those of us who've never been into one of these, I thought it'd be interesting at least to pull the stock off. And I'd like to show the trigger mechanism here because it is an adjustable trigger, and it's kind of crude, but you know, it does give some flexibility to the shooter. On trigger weight is really the only thing you can adjust. So we're going to take off this screw here and one behind the trigger guard. But we're not done, because what these things have is a pin here that goes through the safety. You cannot get the stock off until you remove that pin. So we have to take that pin out before we take the stock off. Otherwise, you're going to break the stock or something in the safety. So we're going to put a punch on it and punch that on through. You notice the safety lever, there it goes, now comes out, and that's where what the safety lever looks like. So now we can take the stock off. And don't lose any of these things, that's always good. So open it up, set the stock aside. And what you have here, a couple of things I want to show. One is that this has the serial number right here, number 204. Can you see that? So it's stamped there, and it's stamped at the front of the receiver as well. Again, no other markings on the aluminum here. But what I wanted to get into was the trigger mechanism. Again, it's crude because it's just moving this spring here either back toward the trigger or further out. And that affects how the trigger pull weight. That's the only thing you can adjust. You can't adjust stage of the trigger or anything like that. But that's a unique feature for a gun that was made in 1947 or thereabouts. I thought it might be interesting to see what the trigger weight is on this. I put the spring here all the way out to the end, and we're going to use the lineman and pull on it and see where we are on trigger pull here. Well, that's about 6.5 pounds right there. Now if we move it as far as we can in that direction, .2. So apparently the closer you move the spring toward the trigger, the lighter the pull on it. So you can get it around 4.25 pounds on the pull on this particular gun.